welcome to SveNFL.
What's up, y'all?
It's Jonathan Rollins.
Schif Masara.
And we are two Americans living in Sweden, talking about
playoffs. Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
Yeah, man. Talking about playoffs. Had a crazy weekend of football. Surprises still, It turns out that there's coaches that say, Herman Edwards says this, and it's true.
You play to win the game.
And it's any given Sunday, man.
It is.
Or Saturday. But let's get through it, man. I'm in Texas now. I'm about to do a show tonight, so and I'm just getting here from Vegas, where I was a intoxicated zombie for 4 days, and now I'm recovering and start back eating food again. So.
Just in time for the Trump inauguration, so you can throw up all over yourself.
I know, right? Yeah, I didn't watch a minute of that. I'm glad, but it doesn't change the fact that he's here. And it's funny because every Uber that I rode in since I got here, the driver has talked about asking me about how to leave. How do I leave? How do I go to Europe?
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's a very trendy Google search at the moment.
Yeah. So, who
how
knows,
do I get
man?
the fuck out of here?
But what's an inauguration without a little Sieg Heil, right? So,
exactly.
Has there ever been one before? Okay.
Yeah, unprecedented.
Shenanigans.
Totally. Speaking of shenanigans, let's talk about Chiefs Texans.
Yeah.
Look, okay. Obviously, this game ended the way we thought it would, but there's still some interesting things that need to be discussed here. If you look at the statistical comparison, the Texans outplayed the Chiefs by nearly every metric imaginable, except for the score, which is the only one that matters.
Yeah, that's what matters, yeah.
Right? Passing yards, Texans won that battle 187 to 162. Rushing yards, 149 to 50. First downs, 18 to 14. Third down efficiency, 10 of 17 versus 4 of 11. Time of possession, 33 to 26. But again, none of it mattered because despite the fact that the Texans were able to move the ball down the field better than the Chiefs, as soon as they got to the red zone, the Chiefs just fucking shut them down.
Yeah. It
was like straight up in Spags we trust. Gotta have it. Gotta stop it.
Yep.
We'll give you 3, but you ain't getting 6. They had 8 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss. Karlaftis was a fucking heat-seeking missile.
Insane.
Every time they needed to play, that guy was just like, he just felt like he was unblocked most of the time. Yeah. It was like, what is happening here?
Spags, man. This is like a new era for the Chiefs, it feels like. We've seen their offensive juggernaut teams and where you can lean on Mahomes and all of that stuff and having like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and all of that stuff. But it's this version of the Chiefs, it seems more sustainable too, where you just got a defensive coordinator that puts together these game plans that are just too good, and then they're going to score enough because they figure out how to score. And then Travis Kelce decided to turn back the clock.
Yeah, Travis Kelce went full NBA mode and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to chill through the regular season.
And game's then off.
When the games start to matter, I'm going to show up and have essentially my best game of the year. He had 7 catches on 8 targets for 117 yards and a touchdown. And again, we spoke about this, the fact that it's like, it's a 2-man race for like most touchdowns and yards in the playoffs. And that 2-man race is between Jerry Rice and Travis Kelce. Like something just feels so weird.
Put this dude in the hall, especially when it's a tight end. Like, put this dude in the hall, nuts. Man.
The Texans, first team in playoff history to outgain their opponent by 100 yards, have 0 turnovers, and still lose the game. Obviously, I mean, we can't mention this sort of officiating shenanigans in this game. Obviously, there's all these conspiracy theorists who think the refs are in the Chiefs' pocket. I do think that the refs, for whatever reason, do tend to treat Mahomes differently than they do other players. I don't know if that's intentional or what, but
I mean, it's like Jordan. He's the Jordan of this era. Of course,
True.
they're gonna be. Have you seen that clip of Michael Jordan talking to the referee, and the referee's like, "I didn't see it, man." And Jordan's like, "Yeah, well, he touched the ball. It was him." He said, "All right." He just took Jordan's word for it. Changed the call.
The Texans had Texans had 8 penalties for a total of 82 lost yards, many of which were big yardage, questionable personal foul type penalties that helped extend several Chiefs drives that appeared to be dead in the water because the Texans defense, didn't play that bad either.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those calls were bad. The one that I think is the worst look for them is the one where Mahomes slides. The two defenders come together, and the sound, you hear the sound of helmets cracking, but it was actually the two Texans helmets smashing together.
Yeah.
And I mean, who was it? Was it Romo on this game, or was it
I think it was. No, Romo had the Bills games because he was.
It was Aikman. Aikman was super annoyed by this whole thing. He was pissed off. But yeah, I mean, look, people are going to complain about this shit because the Chiefs are in that dynasty mode where everybody hates them.
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers and grind the tape carefully, like we do at SveNFL, you will see that the Chiefs were one of the most penalized teams in the league this year. It's just that when this shit happens in a big spot, it's getting people are out here just making a big deal out of whatever. The reality is that the Chiefs are just fucking winners. You know what I mean? They know how to win football games, even when they're not technically the best team on the field. So I don't know. To me, that image, to me, everything you need to know about the Chiefs is in that play where Mahomes is literally going down for a sack.
Yeah.
Still has the ability to fall forwards and throw a perfect touchdown pass to Kelsey,
who's just waiting.
Who's honestly he's so good at finding the soft spot in zone coverage where he makes himself wide open.
Well, they say on that play he happened to be ordering a hot dog. So he's just waiting on his order. Oh shit, a football. I'm here for the touchdown.
Right. I'm here for the touchdown special. For the Texans, look, we've talked about this before. They limped into the playoffs. It wasn't a great year. CJ Stroud had a bit of a sophomore slump, but they ran up against a bit of a buzzsaw defense in this game. 8 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 14 QB hits. It's just hard to win football games when you have an army of pass rushers puppeted by one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and Steve Spagnuolo. Yep. I'm not worried about the Texans. I think they have, no reason to hang your head.
Right. Yeah, I've been saying all year, they peaked last year. And the fact that they made it here, reset. Fewer injuries next year, experience under your belt. You'll be back.
Yeah, no tragedy here necessarily. The real tragedy is in the game that we're going to talk about now.
Yes.
Depending on how you look at it. I mean, Commanders 45, Lions 31. Not a lot of people were seeing that coming. But honestly, the Washington Commanders, it has to be said, in the past 3 decades, this team has had more federal investigations than playoff wins. Okay. Yep. After last week, they have now secured their first playoff victory last week since 2005, and they're now off to the NFC Conference Championship game for the first time since 1991. 33 years ago, which, if memory is correct, was the last time they won the Super Bowl.
Yep. Beat the Bills.
So the era of Dan Snyder, which threw this entire franchise off a cliff due to the whims and misgivings of a narcissistic sociopath, appear to officially be over. Right?
Thank goodness.
I mean, all you needed to do was just get rid of Dan Snyder.
Yep.
And draft a rookie quarterback.
There's other teams out there that could take heat. Right? They're just an owner away.
I'm looking at you, Cowboys.
Yeah, just an owner away. I think America would really embrace Dallas if Jerry Jones left.
Oh my God, they would immediately reclaim the America's team.
Like, say Mark Cuban came in, right? He used to own
Oh my
the
God,
Mavericks.
people would love him. Yeah,
people would love
him.
Mark Cuban as a football team owner.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, everybody was on the Lions. They were the new America's team, but the Commanders said, fuck that. We're America's team now. Everything felt like it was starting to script when the Lions went up 7-3. But that moment that what was his name, Dorrance Armstrong, forced Jared Goff to fumble, got the recovery. The game just kind of flipped on its head at that point.
Goff, man,
it was rough.
Goff showed up.
I mean, the comparisons were that Jaden Daniels from that point led the Commanders to touchdown drives on 5 of their next 7 drives, while Goff, was just getting started, throwing 3 picks before the night was over. One of which went for 6. Jameson Williams also threw a pick on a really ill-advised trick play. This was definitely the offensive back and forth that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they just got more drives. And he was throwing picks in the red zone, too. It's like we drove all the way downfield and we walk away with nothing when we're in field goal range. And it's just like, damn. I was over here rooting for this guy. I was in a casino watching the game, and you could just see people's money just falling out, just like all their bets just going to shit.
I mean, the fact that they were still able to score 31 points despite turning the ball over 5 times is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But, obviously in a game like this where the ball is just going up and down the field and defense is not playing a huge factor outside of the turnovers, it's the team that makes the most mistakes that's going to lose the game. And that's kind of the simplest way to put it. On one level, I think it's kind of sad that the Lions are out. That fan base definitely deserves a chance to go to a Super Bowl.
And Dan Campbell, we just love Dan Campbell.
Exactly. On the other hand, fuck Amon-Ra St. Brown for talking shit about my fans in the A. I'll just have to say that. Yeah. Also, if you like underdog narratives, I mean, what's not to like about the Commanders?
Valid.
Right?
Yeah.
Jane Daniels, we already mentioned the decades of terrible ownership, but then you got Jaden Daniels out here proving all the draft doubters wrong. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury rewriting their redemption narratives, right? Both guys get kind of a rough rap. Cliff for not being able to do it in the second half, and DQ for the 28-3 lead that he lost in the Super Bowl. But the one guy that I feel like is my favorite storyline is got to be Terry McLaurin. Okay. Now, I would argue that there is no more worthy receiver in the NFL to be in this situation than Terry McLaurin.
What is it?
Now, Amon-Ra is out here remembering all the dudes that got drafted ahead of him, talking shit about everybody's fan bases. And, meanwhile, this motherfucker just lucked into a success story, right? Playing for one of the historically shittiest teams in NFL history, and now they're suddenly good. Have you ever seen the list of quarterbacks that Terry McLaurin has been forced to play with?
Kirk Cousins?
Have you ever seen this list?
And that's what pisses me off.
The list, here's the list of quarterbacks that have thrown passes to Terry McLaurin. He's only been in the league for 6 years.
Ah, okay.
Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, RIP, Colt McCoy, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Garrett Gilbert, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell.
That's embarrassing, man.
Terry McLaurin has earned
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well said. Yes. Wow, that is a list. I don't know if any other team, because even if you think of like the Browns, I don't think anybody measures up to that list of quarterbacks.
Well, the fact that he's been there the whole time is really what makes it kind of significant. Like the Browns have a crazy list of shit quarterbacks that they've had over the last 10 years, but it's not like there's been one receiver who's been stuck there the whole time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they like reset and bring in just full shit. And then you got Terry McLaurin, who's a Pro Bowl type player that is stuck with.
I mean, for the Lions, right? They have a great season, and this is really just a terrible time to have a bad night, right?
Yeah.
They played their most frantic, chaotic game at the worst possible moment.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that's going to be difficult for them to wake up to is learning that their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, has now been hired as the Chicago Bears.
And they got to face him twice a year.
Next year. Yeah. Kind of a tough loss for him, too. You know, I don't know if you remember this, but he comes back to the Lions because he wants to win a Super Bowl. You know, he turned down this commander's job because the new owners, according to him, in quotes, they're basketball guys. I don't want to coach for them. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes next year. Everyone's assuming their defensive coordinator is also going to get hired by somebody as well.
Right? No, he got called back on the interview now.
He's still in the cycle, but he got
called for a second interview now. They're saying like they don't want him to leave the building or something like that. I forget what team. Oh, Dallas? Was it that? No. I forget what team it was. But they said their goal is for him not to leave the building, not being the coach.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's always tough to get back to where you were from the previous year when you have a successful year, and now they're going to lose their top two coordinators. It's going to be even harder.
Jets. The Jets were going after Aaron Glenn.
Oof. Have fun.
Yeah. It's got to be hard to turn down one of those 32 jobs, man.
Yeah.
The fact that Ben Johnson did it, Anarumo did it as well, and now he's out. Yeah, you don't want that to happen where you might have a really bad year. And I was like looking up Ben Johnson. It's a remarkable story, man, because I'm going to be doing my coaching breakdown this offseason.
Yeah.
And like he was on the Dolphins staff. With he came up. He's the first tree member of Dan Campbell. Remember, Dan Campbell was on the Dolphins,
right,
as a tight ends coach, and he was like a quarterbacks coach, stuff like that. And then once that all fell apart, Adam Gase and all of that stuff, then Dan Campbell took him with him when he moved on to be offensive coordinator at one of those jobs or something like that. So he's like, Dan Campbell saw it, man. So that might be a good sign for them that he'll see something else. And, he made moves that he needed to make when they had that rough start to that season. And he fired a couple people and got it going.
That's true. That's a good point. It's going to be interesting. The Lions, I mean, whatever. The Lions are relevant, so that you can at least say that.
Yeah.
Let's
tough
see.
To call that division next year.
Yeah, you're right. It is going to be tough. Interesting that for all the success from that division, they're all at home watching the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, crazy.
That was pretty crazy.
And it's crazy that I tried to get those games. I tried to get that Lions game when we did our flip 'em pick 'em.
Yes.
Because that seemed like the most obvious. I thought Lions and Ravens were going to be the most obvious, and I ended up with 0 points.
There you go. Just shit happens.
So you want to talk Rams Eagles?
Yeah, speaking of shit happening, Eagles win 28-22 by the hair of their chin. Interesting game.
I was watching with an Eagles fan.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, so that
Were they
was funny.
freaking out?
Yeah, a little bit, but he was kind of chill, surprising to me because I'd have been losing my damn mind.
I would have been freaking out because this one got a little crazy at the end. I
Yeah,
mean, they looked good out of the gates, right? They got the passing game going a couple of runs to
yeah,
Saquon, and then Jalen Hurts throws the first haymaker, with a read option, takes it 44 yards to the house.
yeah.
That I didn't see coming. The Rams' first drive was basically running the rock with Kieran Williams and Stafford throwing no-look darts all over the yard. It's like, oh, what is
He's
happening here?
impressive, man. He's turning into one of my favorite quarterbacks, man. I know it's the tail end of his career, but still, man, jeez.
Yeah, we had a little dog-on-dog violence. We had my man, former Bulldog Jalen Carter, lifting my man, former Bulldog Matthew Stafford off the ground
Yeah.
like he was a little puppy, like dog on puppy violence or some shit.
Yeah.
Turned into a bit of a defensive battle this game. Twice the Rams were able to sack the Eagles out of field goal range, which is pretty impressive. I saw some stat where the Rams had 15 sacks over their last 2 games. 15 sacks in 2 playoff games. That's crazy. It was only 13-10 at the half. Eagles were up. And then the sacks just kind of kept coming.
Yeah.
One of which that appeared to injure Jalen Hurts a bit. So that should be interesting to monitor. And then on the next drive, they dropped him in the end zone for safety.
There was a point when I was like, does Hurts come out? Like, is he not? I was wondering that if they were going to like pull him for Pickett. It might have been time for Pickett.
Yeah, it was kind of a curious situation. I mean, shout out to him for being able to play through it, but he was in pain for sure.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, the Rams had a lot of trouble hanging on to the football.
Man.
A lot of drop passes. And then my man Jalen Carter punches the ball out of Kieran Williams' hand.
Yeah, beautiful.
Deep in Rams territory. Eagles recover.
Poor Williams, man. Last time they played, he lost the game on fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
He had, 3 fumbles or 2 fumbles in the last time they played during the season. He felt like it was his fault that they lost. And then he comes out and gets stripped again. He's got to be like, what the fuck, man?
I mean, the Rams D played great. Like, even though the Eagles obviously recovered that fumble, they put together a goal line drive, forced a field goal. Next drive, my man, former Bulldog Nolan Smith, causes Stafford to fumble. But once again, Rams D holds the fort, forces a field goal instead of a touchdown. So despite 2 fourth-quarter turnovers deep in their own end, the Rams were only down by 7 with like about 6 minutes to play, which made this game kind of fascinating, especially because the weather starts to play a role in this. You got the snow coming down.
Oof. But then there's Saquon.
But then fucking Saquon.
Amazing.
Saquon with a 78-yard touchdown run. The fans start singing, "Fly, Eagles, fly." You think this one's pretty much over, right? He's got 196 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. But the Rams still figured out a way to make it interesting, right? They scored a late touchdown, going no huddle, which I feel like they should have done that earlier. They really
I was saying that too.
Kind of successful once they started doing that. So they get that touchdown, forced a 3 and out, got the ball back with a little more than 2 minutes left, down by 6, chance to win the game. Stafford made a hell of an effort. Puka Nacua had a crazy sideline catch. But then they had a false start penalty, which kind of fucked him a little bit. And then Jalen Carter, another sack, basically led to a 4th down. Got to have it play. And the Rams just couldn't get it. And that was it. Lights out. I think on neutral ground, no weather, I think the Rams would have won this game.
Yeah, possibly. Especially with Jalen Hurts being like that, like he not really able to at 100%,
Yeah, because it's not. I mean, they still. I mean, again, I don't even remember what the number is, but there's like just a ridiculous amount of games this year that the Eagles have won, despite the fact that they might not have had a 300-yard passing game all year.
I think they said that, something like that. At some point in the season, they were saying that.
I mean, Hurts is like 15 for 20, 128 yards in this game. You know what I mean?
He had less than half the amount of yards that Stafford had.
Saquon had 205 total rushing yards.
Crazy. Went off.
Oh, my God. A.J. Brown did basically nothing. Yeah. 14 yards. 2 catches for 14 yards. I guess he had plenty of time to read his book.
Yeah, the bestseller? You mean that new bestseller that's 5 years old?
I mean, what a crazy story that has been.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy. I hope he's a good dude. Because, man,
Yeah.
I would love for something that I made 5 years ago to suddenly explode.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And then we have the saddest moment of the playoffs. No, just kidding.
But this really is so it's so depressing. Can I tell you, I've read like 4 or 5 articles about this game, and I've only seen the video clips that are in the article. It's so sad. I can't even bring myself to go back and watch it.
What do you mean?
I mean, I just mean like the way this game ends is so. Mark Andrews is so heartbreaking to think about how, on back-to-back drives too. He fumbles on one drive and then he has a chance to tie the game with a 2-point conversion.
Redemption.
It's right there. It's right there in your hands. When you look at this game, by the numbers, the Ravens in many ways played a better game. They outgained them again. Yeah. Sort of like the Chiefs game.
Josh Allen had the same stat line as Jalen Hurts. Pretty much.
Exactly. Outgained them in nearly every offensive metric, moved the ball better, but obviously they just made more mistakes, more penalties, more turnovers, trying to hang on to the ball in the snow. The ball's starting to look like a fucking slippery wet bar of soap, like that Lamar Jackson fumble where it just like bloop, pops out of his hand.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about the aftermath of this game. It being a heartbreak for whoever the loser was going to be. In this case, Lamar Jackson and the MVP caliber season he had. Ultimately, he's back to square one. Yeah. It's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
For the Bills, I mean, here we go again.
Yeah, they could beat the Chiefs, man. They just got to get past these Chiefs.
Mahomes versus Allen rematch. I mean, if you love narrative, it doesn't really get much better than that. I just hope for their sake they realize how lucky they are in some ways to be in this position, because frankly they did not play their best football game to get to this point.
No.
Which in some ways is exactly where you would want to be going into a big game like this, right?
Yeah.
We
got the dud out the way.
Yeah, knowing that there's work to be done, and you prepare to finally get over the hump and take down your nemesis. Like I'm not one of these people who hates the Chiefs. I really, really don't. But I'm definitely much more here for. I'm more interested in seeing the Bills make it to the Super Bowl, for sure. I know that's hard for you to agree with.
Interesting point, sir.
I understand why you can't get on board with that.
No.
Considering they're in your division and you have this long-running take, which hasn't really played out very well regarding the abilities of the one Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's been carried by that team, man. It's crazy.
Well, he's definitely carried by the defense in this game. Some of those guys.
But our Hurts Allen parlay of we talk about just bet on these guys to score rushing touchdowns came true again. I mean, we didn't bet it, but came true again. These guys are going to score. Yeah.
I mean, the defense for the Bills really kind of played with their hair on fire for the most part.
Yeah.
Matt Milano was great.
Being back is huge, man.
Matt Milano was great. Von Miller was good.
Yeah.
You even had DeMar Hamlin making plays. So, you know, yeah, again, they just showed up when it mattered the most, and they did just enough. And Mark Andrews dropped the ball. Honestly, it's like I feel so bad for Mark Andrews because he's
me too, man.
It sucks because he's such a good player. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, and that's what's going to be remembered.
He's always going to be remembered for this. It fucking sucks. I hate it for him.
Yeah.
But that's that. We got our matchups. We got Sunday, 9:00, 1 p.m. Eastern. You got Commanders, Eagles, an NFC
division
East
rival
showdown. And then Sunday, 12:30 a.m., 6:30 Eastern. You got Bills Chiefs.
You know the Chiefs are happy they played and got that home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That place is gonna be crazy. It's a tough place to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of with you, man. It'll be cool to see the Bills win it all, but it'll be hard. It'll be hard to cheer for them.
I just think for the sake of their fan base, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love their fans.
And the whole story of the, losing 4 Super Bowls in a row back in the 90s. It's like,
I remember feeling bummed for them. Like, God damn.
You'd be hard pressed to find another team that ranks higher than them on the pain and disappointment meter when it comes to championships. And I say that as a Falcons fan. So
yeah, and coming up on like running into these buzzsaw or like these Hall of Famers and shit, it's gotta suck, man. Like being like Charles Barkley, you know what I'm saying, going against Jordan all these years, and it's like or Peyton Manning having to like get over the hump against Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the year Brady got hurt, everybody's like, "Oh, finally we can go for the Super Bowl."
Yeah, it sucks. Who do you think was this weekend's MVP?
Saquon Barkley. Yeah, man, 200-something yards in a playoff game. It's like, who's better?
I'm gonna have to go with Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah,
I just think I agree with you. I think Saquon was great. I think to me he occupies this very special story at the moment that I'm really enjoying. I've never been a very big Eagles fan, so I'm kind of here for that. I would love to see them defeat the Eagles and go to the Super Bowl. It would be amazing.
I think we probably have the same trash.
I got Goff.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
I mean, fumble.
I don't want to
3 bad
pile on,
picks.
but it's like, the picks, and then at the end of the game, we were like, "Oh, he's gonna throw a pick here." I should have live betted. I was in the casino. I was like, "He's throwing a pick to end this game," and he does.
You know what I'm not here for though? I'm not here for these kind of hot take. Is Goff good enough to lead them to the promised land? There's already articles out there that, and the thing that annoys me is that these articles came out so fast. They felt like they were pre-written, like celebrity obituaries. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, he played bad, but just stop it. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a good quarterback. Just because he had one bad game doesn't erase everything that he did this year. So did you learn anything?
No, I didn't learn. I learned that a sober mind is a clear mind.
Nice.
Because I was faded the whole weekend.
Yeah. The one thing that I took from the broadcast, which I thought was crazy, I learned that Patrick Mahomes, since 2018, has more playoff wins than 12 franchises have in their entire history. That is insane.
That's crazy.
Bro, Chargers, Panthers, Cardinals, Texans, Bengals, Lions, Bucks, Jets, Browns, Jags, Saints, and yes, my Atlanta Falcons all have fewer playoff wins than Patrick Mahomes.
Jeez. Wow. Well, that's a cool fact right there.
Yeah. Interesting side thing that I learned actually, as if it isn't embarrassing enough for the Cowboys fans and organization that Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore experienced this kind of success like immediately after leaving Dallas. The Commanders winning to go to the conference championship for the first time since 1991 now makes the Cowboys the team with the longest conference championship appearance drought.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
They made it in. Was it the Super Bowl years the last time they were there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Every other NFC team has reached the conference championship game more recently than the Dallas Cowboys.
Jeez.
All of them.
Damn. Well, once they get Dion in there. Oh, man. Well,
and then as far as Speck is concerned,
yeah, I'd have to say Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I'm in that same church, different pew. I'm going to go with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes, good one, great one.
I kind of, last week I said they should just be happy to be there. I said there's no shame in them losing to the Lions. I said there was no way the Commanders would even cover the spread, no matter how high it was. Well, Dan and Cliff said, fuck that. We're here to punch these Lions in the mouth. They went into Detroit, beat the number 1 seed by playing non-stop, relentless offensive football. They gave up a ton of points, but they also forced 5 turnovers. This was not luck. It wasn't a fluke. The Commanders simply stepped up and played better football when it absolutely mattered. And for that, Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury deserve to have some respect put on their names.
Put some respect on my name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Well said, man. That was the perfect one. Well, that's it, man. This was a crazy divisional round. I'm looking forward to these championship games. We got 4 good teams, man, that are going to be going at it. And I'd love to see what they put together in Washington against a team they're very familiar with. So I still think the Eagles have the best roster in football. So that's an uphill that they got to climb, but why not?
That's a hell of a defense they're going to have to deal with for sure.
Yeah. And they the gauntlet that they would have to get through to get to the Super Bowl, if they do that, that's impressive.
And my dogs on that Eagles defense, they got history with Jaden Daniels.
Oh, yeah. It always comes back to it, huh?
Just saying.
There's always a way to suck on a little grapefruit. Had to get the whole sound on that one. Oh, man. Well, thank y'all for checking this episode out, man. I got to check out of this hotel room, so I got to run. But we'll be back to preview next week because that's what we do here at SveNFL. Thanks for checking it out. Good luck to your teams if they're still in, except for Buffalo because fuck Buffalo. But, it's been Jonathan Rollins.
Schif Zara.
With SveNFL, and we'll catch y'all soon. Peace.
Later, y'all.